funding for those positions. So, that is a significant reason for the delay.
For example nga, sa DOE, di ba, parang for the past 2 years, they've generated 100 million savings by not filling up the permanent positions. And I suppose, ito yung naging DAP. Kasi since, di ba, you said DAP
It's
mostly came
possible.
from...
It's possible. Yeah.
Yes.
From a reality point of view, no, the permanent position, you cannot remove it because that's part of your plantilla. The problem is, first, we have a difficult time attracting people. No? Second, when somebody apply, there's a whole bureaucracy before you can accept them. No? Because I think one of the most difficult place to apply for a job if you're not a presidential appointee is the government. No? You have to go through an exam, you have to go through a whole battery of things. So by the time you finally decide to offer the job, it already takes you 6 months, no? 3 to 6 months. By that time, you're going to offer it, that person has already found another job. No? So you go back again and you go through that process again. So that's the difficulty of filling up that position. It's a tedious process. And I think the other thing is, everyone complained there's inefficiency, but if, well, like what happened before, you leave it to the agency, then they don't fill it up because, like the old practice, they want to generate savings. No? But with this, then you are forced, because you need the people, then you're forced to hire because you cannot access that money except to hire people. No? So I think that's the whole problem. Why? And we went through a rationalization plan. When a agency is being rationalized, we cannot hire. It's only after our rationalization program has been approved that we can start hiring. No? That's basically what's happening to BIR.
Is it already finished, the rationalization plan?
Yes.
All agencies?
Yes. What we're trying to do now.
Can we see it?
Yeah, sure. What would perhaps better for you to see it once we have put the names to the positions.
No, because I think Senator Nancy, the answer to your question would lie in the rationalization plan. As Commissioner Kim has stated, government cannot not fund these permanent items because they're in the plantilla. Whether they're filled up or not, there has to be money just in case they're filled up. Otherwise, government will be remiss if they didn't provide funds for it. But the rationalization plan should solve that problem. Kung talagang hindi napupunuan yan, and the agencies have functioned very well so far, or at least, kaya nga may bonus silang lahat, di ba, by end of 2015?
Not all.
No, but the logic is, if you perceive and if your presumption is the agencies will function, that's why you're allocating funds for a bonus, then if they can function without filling up these positions, then it's about time you remove these positions, because the culture of hiring contractual secretaries, you know, we've been talking about this in Congress since 10 years ago. We are not able to hire the best and the brightest simply because they're not paid well and they don't have security of tenure because they're simply contractuals. They are renewable every 6 months.
In fact, Mr. Chairman, sometimes the job orders and the contractuals are the ones who work harder and produce
They're the ones
more.
who work. Like behind you, Secretary, how many of them are contractuals?
Please raise your hand.
Hindi ba? Sayang eh. And they cannot see a life in government because they don't have security of tenure. They only stay there while you're there. Once you're out, they're out too. But I guess the answer or the solution would lie in the implementation of the rationalization plan once and for all.
We have more stringent criteria for hiring clerks than for electing presidents.
Akala ko sabihin mo, congressman at senador eh.
Thank you, Secretary Abad. Doon lang ho sa, I guess kay Secretary Balisacan, can you name the top 10 poorest provinces?
Secretary Balisacan, it's the poorest provinces according to NEDA, not the high incidence of poverty. Correct me if I'm wrong, Senator Nancy.
Yeah,
It's not they're not necessarily the same.
they're not necessarily the same.
So we're talking about the poorest provinces from the NEDA's point of view.
Just let me clarify. We group the provinces into three three groups, three groupings. One has to do with the incidence of poverty. That's the proportion of the population deemed poor. The other one is the number of poor people in the province. So this absolute number of individuals deemed poor. The third one is provinces that are highly vulnerable to calamities, and they can be also poor in the sense of high incidence or poor in the sense of nandiyan na ho yung mga provinces.
Siguro, mag-umpisa muna tayo, how do you define poor?
We have a number one ho, we
Para kung tama sa
Lanao.
vulnerable
Okay.
incidents
So,
based on household.
Yes,
An
Secretary.
interagency group defines the norm, what we call the poverty line, that says if a person or family has an income higher than this line, than this poverty line, that person or family is considered not poor.
and what is that line?
Can I have the average for the Philippines? We have that for province, per region, per province. It's about
What is the average siguro?
give me a minute, Mr. Chair.
While you're looking at it, Secretary Balisacan, Secretary Purisima, out of curiosity, are all of these numbers aligned? Meaning, poverty threshold per province, minimum wage rate as set by the Regional Tripartite and Wages Productivity Board per region, and on the part of the BIR, we haven't changed the income classifications. Is it all still aligned?
I don't think there's a formal process of linking them, but for example, wage setting, the inputs of the different departments and sectors are actually.
But in theory,
in theory, it
they should be aligned.
Yeah.
The only difference is in computing minimum wage rates. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your assumption is at least 2 members of the family work, because if you compute the minimum wage rate, it's about half of the cost of living in a given place. Would that be accurate?
But, Mr. Chairman, talking about alignment, I think the fact that we have been able to put together a national household targeted survey allows us now to direct the subsidies and coordinate the subsidies in such a way that the subsidies really go to the households that need them the most. For example, both the CCT program as well as for example, the PhilHealth Universal Health Insurance Program are now directed to this household. Unlike before, in the initial listing of the PhilHealth, only about 20% were really poor as categorized under the National Household Targeted Survey.
I understand, Secretary, but that's a work in progress, because I have personal experiences in our province, for example, na mas mayaman pa by way of subsidy na natatanggap yung NHTS beneficiary nyo kumpara sa barangay Kagawad o barangay Tanod na hindi nag-qualify doon, and because he's not receiving these benefits, end up in a sorrier state than the NHTS beneficiary. So those distortions, I guess, would have to be plugged, those gaps would have to be plugged along the way as we work along.
Yes, but I think those deviations would not amount to about 3% of the total, but still a deviation. So
Still a deviation.
we're trying to limit that and narrow that down further, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary Balisacan?
Number, the average for the Philippines, Mr. Chair, is 19,250 per person per year.
What do you mean by per person? So for a family of 5, you have to compute it by multiplied by 5?
Yes.
Magkano ulit? 19?
19,253. That's per person per year. And it varies across the provinces because of differences in cost of living.
So anyone who earns below 1.1 million a year for a family of 5 is poor?
It's 9,250.
9,019, sorry.
19,000.
So it's 19,250
Per year.
times
per year.
per year.
Per year to.
Times 5. 96,000. Anyone who earns less than 96,260 in this country, on average, of course, is considered poor. If you're a family of 5, Di ba?
Yes.
Tama ba?
Parang you're earning 8,000 a
Eh,
month? Tama ho ba?
Yes,
As a family.
As a family. But of course, in a family, there could be 2 income earners.
So parang 8,000 a month na good for 5. Parang ganon. Tama ho ba?
This is
Per month.
per month. Yeah.
Do I take it, Secretary, that NHTS includes all of those earning below that line? On average, across the provinces. Is that NHTS or not?
No. This is the Family Income and Expenditure Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority.
So let me ask you, Secretary nga, sino yung NHTS kung hindi yan?
No, there are dalawa kasi yung NHTS is the National Household Targeting System that na ginagamit for targeting by
I know that, sir.
By DSWD ho.
I know that, sir.
Ibang data yun ho kasi yun may ma-access mo yung mga individual observations. So, dito sa Philippine Statistics Authority ho, survey to, hindi inire-release yung hindi ina-access yung individual information so because of confidentiality.
I know that, Secretary. What I'm saying is, can you guarantee or can NHTS guarantee that everyone in the NHTS is below that line? That nobody is above that line? I don't care if you can access NHTS and you can't access yours, but the standard should be the same.
Yeah, the NHTS says merong because that is a survey for targeted geographic areas. And census actually yun. So it includes both the poor and non-poor. Pero ang ginagawa doon ho, ina-identify yung mga correlates of poverty.
Let me rephrase, Secretary. Is the standard the same for NHTS and the
Yeah, ho, ito
and
rin
your
ang
data?
ginagamit for identifying the poor in the NHTS. Ito the same
That's the standard.
Yeah,
Okay.
the same poverty norm.
Kumbaga, same amount. We'll be talking the same amount.
Tama ho.
Average nga, average.
ah.
Which is parang 8,000 a month for a family of 5.
Low, but remember that in a family, there may be more than one income earner.
Sige po, yung poorest provinces.
That norm ho, and then we conduct a survey that is representative at the regional level and to some extent ho, at the provincial level. Doon dinedetermine ang level of poverty per region, per province. At the following provinces. The provinces with the highest proportion of the poor ho, these are Apayao, Masbate, Eastern Samar, Northern Samar, Zamboanga del Norte, Camiguin, North Cotabato, Sarangani, Lanao del Sur, and Maguindanao, based on the 2012 data.
So on top notcher, Secretary, is Lanao del Sur? It's the province with the highest incidence of poverty based on 2012 data. At 73.8% or nearly 3/4 of their population.
It's mostly the mostly the ARM provinces and the Samar provinces. These are typically the poorest provinces of the country.
And I think parang majority is from Mindanao.
Mindanao and Visayas, particularly
And
for
for
the Samar.
Luzon is Apayao lang.
Apayao. Yeah.
The poorest so is Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao is second, Eastern Samar is third, Payao is fourth, and then Camiguin, Sarangani, North Cotabato, Masbate, and Northern Samar.
Meron naman din ho kayo, meron ho ba kayong data that yung most dramatic rise in poverty levels? Which provinces?
Mike, sir.
The ARM provinces so are the ones that have seen sharp increases in poverty over the last 10 years.
Can we get exact figures?
I can provide you, we can access our
So ibig
website.
sabihin no, in spite of the fact na napopondohan na yung, I mean, we've spent quite a lot for, correct me if I'm wrong, kung tama ho ba na we spent a lot for ARM or for Mindanao? Ano ho bang share ng Mindanao province sa 2015 budget?
About 20%. Secretary Bud?
Siguro,
Would that be
can you give us data, how much, yung 2015 budget, how much is for Luzon, how much is for Visayas?
The
how
share
much
of
is
Mindanao
for
is about 20, right?
Yes, but it's tricky because
I recomputed it. I computed 16 actually when I removed nationwide and
Right,
NCR from
but-
the computation. Eh.
but if you look at the central office budget, for example, NIA has a lot of central office budget that can actually grow even more. Yeah.
Magkano ho?
My computation is 16 if you remove central office and nationwide. Secretary Abad's computation in his presentation I think was 20% of the total time.
For which province? For which
Mindanao.
island? Mindanao is
The-
20%?
The trend is really moving towards the Visayas in Mindanao, but more particularly towards the poorer regions and
Yeah.
provinces.
Well, Mindanao is 20%. Visayas is how many percent?
Ilan ang Visayas? 16, 13%. Visayas.
Visayas.
Well, with some caveats which I will explain later on. For example, for 2015, we excluded NCR from
Secretary, but
Luzon.
siguro, can we start from 2014?
Yeah.
If you have the data.
From 2014, NCR garnered 22% of the total budget, and Luzon 36%, Visayas 17.9%, and Mindanao 24.1%. For 2015, NCR was allocated 32%, Luzon 32.3, which is down from 36, Visayas 15.3, and Mindanao 20.4%. That's the breakdown. But as I said, the caveat is
Check. Ano ho yung Luzon ulit? How many percent?
32.3.
30. Okay.
I said the caveat is there are nationwide and central office allocation, which if you break down further, would provide more shares to Visayas and Mindanao, but we have not been able to disaggregate that. And that explains, for example, the increase of budgets of NCR and parts of Luzon. Apart from the fact, Mr. Chairman, that really GDP, about 65% of which is generated by regions 3, NCR, and 4A. So these are the growth regions, and therefore, as they grow, they also require more infrastructure, more social services, and also the problem of population density also becomes more pronounced. So that's, and of course, that's a more fundamental problem about centralization of growth.
Secretary Abad, is it possible for us to get yung data na talagang disaggregated na? Kasi di ba parang you're saying na yung percentage that you gave me, yung 15.3, parang technically madadagdagan pa to kasi may mga budget na nakalagay doon sa per agency. Is it possible na yung the whole picture, yung how much is really spent for Visayas, for Mindanao, for Luzon?
Kindly submit that to us, Secretary.
To the extent that we can, this is really, we will have to ask the departments, but we will...
For 2015, but at least for the previous years, perhaps you can give that to us. Again, not
Yeah.
necessarily in connection with DBCC, but when we see each other for the DBM proper.
We will do that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Ma'am,
po,
you
Secretary Balisacan.
you asked for the provinces with the most dramatic rise in poverty incidents. Comparing the figures for 2009 and 2012, the ones that had sharp changes in poverty are Apayao,
Upward trend, downward trend.
increased from 36 to 50 to about 55%. Ifugao from 21 to 36%. And in the Visayas region, we have Negros Oriental from 36 to 44%. Western Samar from 37 to 43%. Eastern Samar from 46 to 55%. And in Mindanao, we have North Cotabato from 26% to 45%. Camiguin from 36 to 41. Lanao from 37 to 67%. Maguindanao from 45 to 54%.
May data din ba ho kayo ng most dramatic decrease in poverty?
Yeah, we can provide that. You can provide that, Your Honor.
Wala ho kayong...
I don't have with me here, but it's easy to call that out from our website because it's posted in the Philippine Statistics Authority's website.
And how much have we spent for these provinces? For example, itong Apayao, Ifugao, Negros Oriental, Western Samar.
I'm not. I don't have. We don't have data on the specific provinces. You can have the regions and the islands. So, but I am not aware of the total government spending per province insofar as poverty reduction programs concerned. But for specific programs like CCT, for example, we can get that from education, but we haven't have that numbers by province.
Siguro, Mr. Chairman, in the next hearing, can we get specific data on how much is spent dun sa 9 provinces na may most dramatic rise in poverty levels?
I think it's Secretary Abad that I should ask that from, because Secretary Balisacan would not have access to that data. Can you ask someone, Secretary, to disaggregate as best as they can the budgetary allocations for the provinces mentioned by Secretary Balisacan, where the incidence of poverty from 2009 to 2012 had a significant increase?
Actually, Mr. Chair, hindi nga siya significant eh. Dramatic rise.
Oh, dramatic. That's the adjective used, dramatic.
Well, it is only in 2014 that we've been able to disaggregate these things.
Can you give us the 2014?
Yes, sir.
2009 to 2012 naman yung data.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And siguro, can I just ask Secretary Abad, siguro sa next, hopefully before the DBM budget hearing, kung pwede yung furnish kasi yung sinabit yung na DAP documents, marami ho doon nakasulat na various LGUs, hindi po detailed. Is it possible for you to provide a detailed listing kung anong province, if this was requested by a legislator or by a mayor or department agency?
We are actually in the process of doing that, Mr. Chairman. We just want to make sure that the letters of endorsement match the SAROs that were issued, because we have encountered situations where you know, for example, the Senate President or the Chair of the Committee on Finance, every day they get letters from all sorts of requests. And so not to disappoint them, they forward them to us. So it will really be unfair if in case some of those projects are really necessary projects or some may not be, that we attribute them to the legislator. So we want to make sure, because they have their own endorsed projects which they can claim to be, they can be responsible for, but in some they may not be. So we're trying to make sure that we're able to distinguish those.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Nancy. Maliban na lang ako kung may tanong kayo sa amin. Hindi, kung may tanong sila sa atin ba? There being no further questions insofar as the macroeconomic assumptions and the DBCC is concerned, I would like to thank our invited guests for coming this morning, for being prompt. We expect to see you with respect to your specific agencies during the hearings when your agencies are called in the next couple of days and weeks. Sa muli po, maraming salamat, magandang umaga, at buti na lang wala ko kaming hinandang tanghalian. Thank you and good morning. Hearing is, ano ba? Hearing is suspended. Pakain mo na lang kay Coco.